pledge.
Yes.
All right.
And hope you all have your flags.
Yeah.
I pledge allegiance to
To the
To the
flag
Flag
the
of the
United
United
States
States of America,
of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with
with liberty
liberty,
and justice for all.
and justice for all.
all right.
Thank you. Our first order of business. Oh, before I go to the approval of the minutes from the March 29th workshop meeting, I just wanted to let everyone know that I will be pulling the consent agenda from tonight's agenda. So if I could get a motion to approve the minutes from the March 9th school committee workshop meeting.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. May I please have a motion to seal tonight's executive session minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Seconded by Brian. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. And then we will move on now to our discussion and action items. John Saviano, would you like to list those? And then I know Dr. Bryce will share his recommendations.
John, you're muted, buddy.
Oh. I can also too, John. Muted. What?
You're better. You're better now.
You're on.
There you go.
John.
We got you.
Muted. Okay, it's okay. It should
Okay, sorry about that. Discussion item A, coronavirus emergency. Number 1, staffing plan for continued closure. Number 2, busing contract. Number 3, food services contract.
Okay, so we'll start with 1, staffing plan. Dr.
Yes.
Price?
Yes. So thank you. It is my recommendation that the school committee discuss and then approve a recommendation to maintain all of our employees through the end of April 30th, and with the caveat that we will revisit current conditions at that time.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion.
So this is Brian Bradshaw. So just to be clear, the motion on the table is to continue to pay salaries and medical benefits through April 30th for all of our employees.
Correct.
Thank you.
Carly? Nope.
Nothing, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Ramos?
Thank you. I just want to say, I support this motion, and I want to add to that I think I'll speak at least for myself, that our hope and plan and intention is to care for the entirety of the Bristol Warren Regional School District team, and to try and make sure that everybody has the resources that they need and the security that they need to help weather the difficult times that we're going through. And we are extremely appreciative of the efforts that you've undertaken so far, and hope to continue to demonstrate that to you.
I just want to second what Adam just said, and I could not have said it any better. Thank you very, very much, Adam.
Agree. I will third that. And is there any more discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. So our second item is the busing contract. Dr. Bryce?
Yes. So it is my recommendation that we actually table the issue of the busing contract pending the next item, which would actually provide an opportunity for myself as a superintendent, the chief operating officer, and our counsel, Mary Ann Carroll, to negotiate with the bus vendor to determine next steps.
Okay, can I get a
So
motion
moved.
to approve
Motion
this
to-
recommendation? Moved by
Motion.
Adam, seconded by
I'll second it.
Marge.
Yeah.
Discussion.
No, I think we can discuss when we get to the other part, right?
Yes.
Well, if we table it, by Robert's rules, it effectively kills it, doesn't it?
We're not tabling, I didn't think we were tabling it yet, because you're right, Brian.
I think he's tabling the discussion until we get to the next item on the agenda. So maybe Dr. Bryce, what you should be recommending is that we hold off on the busing contract until we discuss the emergency powers for superintendent.
Correct. So can I amend the motion?
Well, you can't make a motion, so you want to
Exactly.
change, you want to
Exactly.
amend your recommendation.
Let me amend my recommendation. Thank you, council. And so I think we should hold on the discussion and the recommendation until the school committee discusses and votes on the recommendation for emergency powers for the superintendent.
And so then I withdraw my motion, which was based on the last recommendation. And I'm actually not going to make the motion on this one because I forgot I'm recused on all matters related to the bus contract.
Also, I'm not sure that we're supposed to make a motion yet.
Right.
So I'm a little unclear. So are we just, are we voting on a motion to move the busing contract discussion to the end of this meeting?
So what I think you're doing at this point is we listed them as the emergencies that we have to talk about. So I think as chair, you're simply saying the discussion of busing contract and food service contract, it's going to be moved under the section of emergency power.
Okay, we will move the busing contract discussion and food services contract discussion until after we discuss the emergency powers for the superintendent agenda item, which we can do now.
So I'm going to read a draft of a motion that I'm going to ask somebody to make that applies to giving emergency powers to the superintendent during the situation that we're presently in. And here's what the motion says. For the duration of the state of emergency enacted by the state of Rhode Island and the respective towns, I move that the Bristol Warren Regional School Committee grants the superintendent with the authority to make all necessary decisions that he believes that are in the best interest of the health and safety of Bristol Warren students and staff, and to maintain the workings of the school department during this emergency. This emergency power shall include, but is not limited to, authorize time-sensitive expenditures of an emergency nature with the stipulation that the committee receive weekly reports and backup information relating to any expenses so approved, that the expenditure be budgeted or grant funded, and that any item over $10,000 will be brought to either the chairperson or the vice chairperson for specific approval. Lay off employees if necessary based on legal and contractual parameters. Negotiate with the assistance of legal counsel a one-year extension to the bus contract if that is possible. It's understood that this authority is in the absence of a timely school committee meeting, can be withdrawn by the chairman at any time, and the superintendent shall consult with the chairperson and vice chairperson on those decisions. In addition, any action taken under this emergency power shall be communicated to the full committee as soon as possible, hopefully prior to taking action.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see. Was that Adam? Did I see your hand go up?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Adam.
I just want to say that in support of this motion, that we should recognize, and I think we are recognizing as a school committee, if we pass this motion, the outstanding work that has been done thus far by Dr. Bryce and his team in weathering to the most reasonable extent practicable the storm of things that have come our way over the last several weeks. and we are entrusting him with the responsibility, because he's demonstrated that he's deserving of that trust, to make decisions that are in the best interests of our students, our families, the community at large, and not only to address emergencies that come to the school district, but also to provide assistance if need be in helping the rest of the state and otherwise combat the difficult challenges that we face if the school district has the opportunity to do so. So I'm comfortable and happy to support this motion, and I wanted to publicly state the gratitude and support that I have for the superintendent and his team and their leadership through this time so far.
Mr. Bradshaw?
I want to second Adam's point that Dr. Bryce and his team have done a fantastic job. I am concerned, and we discussed a little bit of this, the statement that this emergency power shall include but is not limited to. So I'm going to move to amend the motion on the floor to specifically eliminate from but is not limited to the termination of employees based on contractual employees. We want to make sure that the termination of employees is not part of the but is not limited to discussion.
I'll second that.
Discussion. But it wasn't even mentioned on the floor at all.
No.
So it's
Right, but it could. But
you
it
have to
could.
amend it. You don't have to amend it because it wasn't even included.
I think what Victor's saying is when Marianne read that part was not included, right?
It
Yeah,
was not included, but
Yeah, I heard.
No, not included.
I agree.
I
It
did
was,
not read termination.
I agree, but there's a statement above it that says this emergency power shall include, but is not limited to. And we read 3 bullet points. This amendment is specifically removing that ability,
That possibility. Okay.
that possibility.
I see what you mean. So, okay, so can you restate what your
So
amendment would be?
the amendment would be that the power to terminate employees is not, I'll have great wordsmithing for this. The power to terminate employees based on contractual parameters is not authorized under this motion.
I'll second that.
I already did.
Yeah, Marge
Okay.
already did. That's
Very
what we're having a
much.
discussion
Okay.
on.
Okay, so now do we need to have discussion on that?
Yes.
You need to
Yes.
vote on the amendment and then vote on the full motion based on the amendment.
Okay, so does anyone have anything to say about Brian's amendment? Okay, we can vote on that amendment then. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. And now will you vote on the original?
You're voting on the amended
Recommendation.
original motion, yes.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Okay, so now it looks like we will go back to the busing contract and then the food services contract, or in whichever order you would like to approach those.
The busing contract has already been addressed in the emergency motion, so you don't need to address that. Jonathan, the food services contract, I think you need to address that.
Yes, so we need to I'm going to make a recommendation that the school committee allow the district to enter into discussions with our food service vendor Chartwells to provide all necessary breakfast and lunch meals for our students, and use a vehicle that they already have, which is the summer meals program, to do that.
Okay, I'll make that motion then.
I'll second it for discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, discussion. Mr. Bradshaw.
So in the past, we had entered into a food services program with a number of other districts. Is this moving away from that?
No, it's not moving away from, Chartwell's is our vendor. And so when we have issues related to what is being served in our cafeterias, we speak to Chartwell. This is not a contract that is dependent upon what other districts are doing. And I also think that Chartwell's may also be the state-approved vendor statewide.
Does anyone else have any other questions or comments?
So I guess yeah, I do. So we currently have a contract with Chartwell's, correct?
Correct.
So again, I seconded this for discussion. So what is this motion changing about that contract?
So right now, what's going to happen is that if the school committee approves this motion, what we will work with Chartwell's to do is to pay them based on the summer meals program rate versus the rate that they would get during the school year. So there is actually a difference.
And that is for the remainder of this contract? Or
No,
for the remainder of this?
It would be for the remainder of this emergency.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mrs. McBride?
So from this point on, or starting next week, we are not paying them for full service in our schools. We're paying them the summer rate. Okay.
Correct.
All right. I don't have a problem with that.
Mr. Ramos?
My question is whether this is based off of our interpretation of what we deem to be fair, or a right that we think exists under the contract. And I don't know. I just haven't I haven't looked at the contractual language myself. I just want to understand our basis for concluding that we have the right to do this.
Yeah, so we've actually received several communications from the state as well as from the federal government that speak to the approval to move or to transition from the full cost funding for meals like we have during a regular school year to the funding or the cost associated with summer meals. So it's not something that we are making unilaterally. It's information or a decision that would be made based on guidance from the state and the federal government.
All right, I'm just trying to get a grasp on whether we're taking on any risk from making this decision, and it sounds to me like you think the answer to that is no.
Yeah, no risk associated with that, to the best of our understanding, and we do have the backup email correspondence from the federal government and the state.
Mrs. McBride, did you have a question?
It's tied, our lunch program is tied to federal dollars, right?
Correct.
So first of all, we need to provide the breakfasts and the lunches that we are doing now. But what you're saying, if I'm understanding correctly, is that there is no loss from the federal government. The federal government recognizes that they will only reimburse us for what? As opposed to being in school full time.
Correct. Right. And so that's guidance that we actually took from the federal government. And so the reimbursement rate changes as well as the availability of providing in some cases, it's the difference between a hot lunch and maybe summer lunches in boxes. And so that's what Chartwell's is able to do. We certainly believe that based on the communication that we will also be able to be reimbursed for that expense. And I think most importantly, the goal is to make sure that all students that receive free and reduced price meals are able to have those meals while we are going through this distance learning experience.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Anyone else have any comments? Mr. Bradshaw?
And just so that I'm clear, have we had any discussions with Chartwells about this yet, or are we just moving into are they on board, or are we just moving into discussions with them now?
No, so we have actually been engaged in discussions with Chartwells. Chartwells has been exemplary in working with us to set up the 3 locations where we distribute meals. Those locations are KMS, Colt Andrews, and Hope in Maine. And we have seen our numbers grow as we've expanded hours. We initially started from 9 until 11 distribution. We this week expanded the hours of distribution for grab and go breakfast and lunch from 9 to 11, and it's now 8 to 11. With that, we've seen almost a doubling of the number of students and families that have been able to participate, and we hope to continue to see that. But we have been on calls with Chartwells multiple times in the last 3 weeks. They have been very responsive to our request and certainly very supportive of our young people.
But at the end of the day, this change would impact the amount of money that they're getting. They're going to be getting a reduced rate based on the summer schedule versus the full school year schedule, correct? And they're okay with that.
Well, I mean, this is something that the federal guidance has allowed us to do. So I don't think it's an issue of whether or not they're okay. I think they recognize that they will also be compensated through the legislation that was passed by Congress, signed by the president. And so this is, all part of the food lunch program. And so I can't speak to what their balance sheet will look like, but it does not appear that they are reluctant to do this.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Anyone else have any comments or questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, and our last item, I don't know, I don't see John. Oh, there you are, John. You want to
Yes.
read that last item for us? And I think that's all that's left.
Well, have we done B, the emergency powers for superintendent?
Yeah, so we're just moving on to amending the school calendar.
Okay. So C, amending the 2019-2020 school calendar.
Thank you. Dr. Brace, do you want to
Yes.
speak on that?
Yes, so I'm actually asking, my recommendation to the school committee is that the school committee adopts the April calendar as outlined by the governor, as well as the Commissioner of Education. That would make April the 3rd and April the 17th strategic pause days, days where our teachers and other staff that are involved with distance learning would have the opportunity to reflect and to pause. In some cases, they might also participate in activities that continue to increase and build their capacity to deliver distance learning, as well as to close schools, distance learning school on April the 9th and April the 10th. I would also mention that for April 3rd and 17th, we will, our Chartwells, our food and nutrition vendor, will be providing grab and go meals on the 3rd and the 17th. They will not be providing meals the day of April the 9th and 10th. And what that means is on April the 8th, and families will be able to pick up.
You're wrong.
Hello?
Yeah, no, it's Marge. I interrupted you. Tina's taking
I'm
your.
sorry, Dr. Bryce, they are going to distribute on April 9th, but they'll do
Okay.
2 days, so kids can get meals on April 9th and 10th on April 9th.
Got it. Sorry. Thank you for the correction. So they will distribute for 2 days on April the 9th, which is that Thursday.
Okay,
So
Marge, do you,
No, I'm on the screen that Tina's on, and I saw her waving her hand.
So I move that we accept the governor's calendar that Friday, April 3rd and Friday, April 17th will be strategic pause days for staff, that Thursday, April 9th and Friday, April 10th will be closed.
Second.
Provide a break for an extended weekend.
Okay, any more discussion on this one?
The only thing I would say is that I've heard a lot of discussion about all Fridays in April we're going to have off, all Fridays in April, but I don't know that that's necessarily true, because it still appears that Friday, April 24th will be a school day. So, you know, if anybody hears, hey, we're going to get off every Friday in April off, that's not true.
You can't just let the kids think that, Brian.
No. Smash their hopes and dreams.
That's his
Okay.
role, Brian, the hope and dream snatcher.
That's right.
Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, before I get a motion to adjourn, I know it's not really an item on here, but I just have to say thank you so much to Dr. Bryce and his administration. The level of communication through all of this has been incredibly impressive. And also I would say, as a mom of 3 kids in 3 different schools at 3 different levels, elementary, middle, and high school, our experience has been unbelievable. And when I compare it to many of my friends' experiences in other parts of the country, it is really, everybody needs to just pat themselves on the back. Our administrators and teachers, I mean, I'm blown away on a daily basis by what my kids are doing here at home. And our support staff as well. I know how much you're all putting into this, and that it was just dropped on you. And please know how much we all appreciate what you're doing. And also just truly know that that level of caring that you are putting out there to students and families has just been a very big deal during this time, because I know that people have other worries at this time as well. So we really, really appreciate that. And to all our Bristol Warren families, thank you so much for rolling with this. And I think we're all partners in this. And as everyone keeps saying, we're all in this together. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And now I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Everyone be safe.
Be
Thank you.
safe.
everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.